Hi everyone, Tori here with another scrapbooking process video / mixed media extravaganza. I had this deep desire to do some mixed media, so I pulled out my stuff and I'm gonna just play. I'm using the Studio Calico Galileo kit, and I'm using this white paper with blue polka dots on it. To do my mixed media project. I have an idea of where I wanted to go when I started, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I just sort of play, and so it just sort of happens as I go. So I started by adding gesso to the page to prep it, because I was going to be using some mixed media watercoloring and all that kind of jazz. So I just used gesso, and the gesso I used is from Faber-Castell, just plain white gesso. Then I use this polka dot template, and I use gel medium, which also comes from Faber-Castell. It's just regular gel medium. It doesn't have anything else on it, and it's perfect. So I started with that. And if you're not very big into mixed media, I mean, the three things that I have that I use are gesso, gel medium, and molding paste or modeling paste. So gesso preps the page, that's what I put on first. Gel medium leaves like a resist shiny thing on the background. So you'll see when I add watercolor what it does to it. But I have to let each layer dry in between, or I dry it with my heat gun. Then the third thing I use is light modeling paste, and I'm using Golden's light modeling or molding paste, and this cloud template that I got in a Studio Calico kit many moons ago. And I knew that I wanted to put clouds all over the page. So I'm going to be using that template multiple times and just using my template, the gel medium, scraping it on, putting it in different places. Sometimes I use the whole template, sometimes I just use a couple clouds, and I'm going to put clouds all over the background. Couple things about care is it hardens really hard, like cement. So you want to clean off your template or your mask, and you want to clean off your palette or your, what do you call this thing, spatula? I don't know, is that what it's called? You want to clean that off pretty quickly, and don't let it sit in the air because it'll harden. And what that does is it creates like a dimensional background element, and when it hardens it'll leave like an imprint of a cloud. And I know it's all white so you can't see it super great here, but when I add watercolor and misting and things like that over top, then you'll be able to see what I'm talking about with the clouds. And I wanted a whole ton of them. I wanted them to mostly be at the top of the page, so I'm adding them all over my background. And I have to clean off my mask every couple of clouds just because it gets all gunked up. So just run to the bathroom, rinse it off, and then come back and keep going. And it's pretty easy to clean up after yourself with it. Like, you just run it under some warm water and it comes right off. So super easy. And if you have not done mixed media before, I want to encourage you to try it. It's really fun. And I mean, these things aren't that, like, if you get small bottles, which is what I did because I was just starting with mixed media, it's not that expensive. It's like when you start to buy bigger bottles and different types and things. But I don't really care about the brands or the kinds. I'm not that into it, so don't take your advice from me. But I'm just giving you some ideas. So if you let molding paste dry on its own, it will dry on its own and it'll dry pretty flat. But what I wanted to do is, because they were clouds, I wanted it to be puffed up and bubbly. So if you use your heat gun with modeling paste, it will make the clouds like puff up really cool. And it'll get all bubbly and add tons of dimension. So I'm going to try to hold this up for you so that you can sort of see what I'm doing. Although it's a little hard to show on camera, but when you use the hot heat against it, it really makes it bubble and get really puffy and super awesome. So it's a really fun technique, especially if you're doing something where you want it to be bubbly and things like that. If you didn't want it to be bubbly, you could just let it air dry on its own. But I am super impatient, so it works for this method and for what I'm doing. So here I am trying to hold it up so that you can see that it gets all big and bubbly. I don't know. Yeah, you can sort of see that. Okay, after that, I let it cool down, and then I grab my tools for doing my watercoloring and misting and everything in the background. So the first thing I do is I use some plastic packaging, and I use some distress inks, and I use the mini distress inks because that's just what I have. So I'm going to list off the colors that I use now, although I can't really tell you when I'm using them on the camera, but I've used Faded Jeans, I've used Chip Sapphire, which is the darkest blue that I've used. I also use, let's see, what color is this? It's like a light purple. It's called Shaded Lilac. And then I'm also going to be using some greens. So I use Pine Needle and Evergreen Bough. And what I do is I smush the distress ink on the packaging, spray it with some water, then smush that all over the page, and then I dry it with a towel, and I just keep going. Now here's my rule of thumb for mixed media. More is more. More is better. And if it doesn't look the way that you want it to look, just keep going, keep adding, because eventually it'll look really good. You want to try to make sure that you're not mixing colors that will make it look brown and muddy. So I wouldn't mix like red and green and brown all together. I'm mostly sticking to the blues and the greens here, which helps with it not getting muddy. So after I was done with my distress inks, I went and grabbed some of the mists and things that I had in my stash as well. So what I just used was a Spring Sky bluish green ink dabber from Mr. Huey's, which is the Studio Calico brand. I also use this Color Shine Teal Mist by Heidi Swapp, and a little bit of white Color Shine from Heidi Swapp as well. And I basically spray it on sometimes, move that around with extra water. Then I add some more, add it to packaging, smush it on. I dry it a little bit, but not much. And then I was feeling like it needed more blue because I wanted it to be really sky blue. So I grabbed my Something Blue Color Theory ink pad from Studio Calico. And those they're premium dye inks, but they're water soluble. So what I did was I smushed the ink onto my packaging, sprayed it with some water, and then it ran like watercolors. And then I added that to the background. And then I dried it off with a towel a little bit, and I was still feeling like it wasn't what I wanted exactly, so I went back to my distress inks and just kept going. Now, as you can see, you can start to begin to see some of the things that I had done on the background. So you can start to see some of those clouds come out. The polka dots that you're seeing that is the first thing that I had done when I had used gel medium with my stencil. It created that fun polka dot background part. And I just keep going. And then I decided to add some splatters and spots and then let it sort of run as well. And I add that, and I just keep dabbing, going and going. And because I have used gesso on the background, it doesn't ruin the paper. It sort of stands up to all my beating and abuse. I dry it with my heat gun, just spreading around those colors, just so that I can get it to dry a little bit, and then I can go back and add some more. So I just decided to go back and add more. And this is where I've added some just splotches and all that. So I used the Something Blue ink pad again, add water, and then I'm just filling it up on my paintbrush and then sort of shaking it all over the page. And then I grabbed one of the distress inks. I think the Chip Sapphire, added some of the white color shine to it to just mute it a little bit, and then added splotches to that again. And you can see that the more I add, the more it really comes out, and you can see those clouds and the polka dots that I've added, and the more it all sort of like goes together and mixes. So back to my statement from earlier, more is more when it comes to mixed media, things like this. And all the colors go together really well. I'm going to just dry that so that I can move on to my next step. And I love the background. It's soft and blue, but I wanted to add just a little bit more. So I wanted to add some more clouds that would stand out. So I grabbed some more modeling paste, and I grabbed some blue paint from the Color Theory line at Studio Calico, and I'm mixing those together just on some packaging with my palette knife. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same cloud stencil that I used earlier and add new clouds on top of the mixed media. So they're like a really light baby blue color, and they're super beautiful. I thought it would be fun to have some clouds on top of the ones that had the mixed media on them, and it's a really fun way to do it. And so I just add those clouds sporadically all over, and they mix in with the colors that I've already used, but they stand out because they don't have the mixed media on them, and they're a solid color. And again, I'm keeping most of the clouds and things near the top of the page, although I'm bringing some of them lower down. Okay, so then I'm going to go clean that off, and now I was feeling like I wanted some clouds that were a darker blue, something to just really bring really great contrast to the page. So I grabbed some more of my gel medium and another blue paint, a darker blue paint, and mixed gel medium and that blue paint together to come up with this really beautiful, it's almost like dark blue, closer to a navy, but maybe not as dark as a navy. And I used that cloud stencil again, this time putting dark blue clouds on the page, and I love it. Like, this is the point where I'm like, oh, this is working out. And it brings really great contrast. And so I'm not going to make a ton of those clouds on the page because I don't want them everywhere. I just wanted 3-4 spots on the page just to bring some really high elements of contrast to the page. Because you've got the light clouds underneath, and then all of a sudden you have these like dark blue ones, and I love the way that it looks. And adding the gel medium makes them like shiny dark blue clouds, which are just super fun. And then just cleaning off my things, because you have to clean them off or else it's gonna get hard and like concrete. And then when I come back, I will have waited for it to dry, and that's basically it. Oh no, I added one more thing. I forgot about this. Then I came back to the layout. Look at all the layers. It's like so fun. I hope you're still with me. I had so much fun making this page. I grabbed my mini distress tool and the shaded lilac light purpley blue color and my cloud stencil / whatever you call it template, and I'm just inking in some of those clouds. So now you've got like light purpley blue clouds that are inked on the page too. So it's like basically just covered with clouds everywhere. And again, it resists those polka dots, so you can still see the polka dots through it. And I overlapped it with some of the clouds that were already on the page, and I love the way that that looks. It's like so much fun dimension and things going on. One of the things that I struggle with when I'm doing mixed media is knowing when to stop. So I usually just keep going and going and going. But I love the way that this worked out, so I'm glad I didn't stop. So I was just holding it up there for you so that you could see all the dimension and intricate detail and how fun it is. And it was lots of fun to make, actually. It's a nice break from what I normally do, and I thought it would be fun for the layout. So the rest of this scrapbooking process video is me actually using this background that I've now created to make a page. So the first thing I need to do is trim down the paper. This layout is going into my Bolivia short-term mission strip album, and that album is 9 by 12. So I'm going to just trim the paper down to that size. I trim it down to, I think, well, I don't know if it's 9.5 by 12 maybe. I trimmed this down to about 9 inches, and I knew that I wanted to back it on something because it's pretty warped. I mean, even though I use gesso, it still doesn't stand up super straight. So I'm going to end up using some just blue cardstock to back the back of this to help it stand up straighter. And then this is the photo that I'm going to be using for this layout. It's a photo of my dad sitting underneath of a tree. And it's such a beautiful tree, and it was an amazing day outside, and we had gone with the team to see ancient ruins, and we were just sitting under this tree waiting, and I had to snap a photo because I just thought my dad looked great underneath that tree. So this is the cardstock that I end up using to back my layout, and I love the way that it looks. So first I have to cut off the branding strip at the bottom, and I wanted to trim off just a little bit more of that one side because the other side was right up to the edge and that side wasn't. And then I'm going to trim down the cardstock to make it 9.5 so that it'll fit in the album. And then I will back this layout on top of that to make sure that it fits perfectly. Now, do not be horrified, but I have to use a ton of score tape in order to help stretch it out so that it won't be warped and so that it'll be straight. So I've sped this up for you so you don't have to watch it for a super long time. But I basically just put score tape all over the background, like literally all over, peel that all off, and then stick it on that cardstock and help stretch it out so that it's not as warped. I don't mind if it's a little warped, that doesn't really bother me, but sticking it on the cardstock really helps with that, and using all that score tape also really helps. So then I was trying to figure out where to put the photo. I decided to put it on the bottom end of the layout so that all the clouds can be above it. And I decided to mat that photo on the same light blue tealish cardstock that I used for the background, just so that it would tie it all together and look like it goes together. And luckily, since I had 2 sheets of that, I had extra, so it worked out perfectly. I just trim around that using my scissors because I don't care about being perfect with this. And then I'm going to mat it on the bottom. I felt like it needed something to just help it stand out a little bit, so I decided to get some vellum from my stash, and I'm going to just use a piece at the bottom edge of the page, and it just sort of helps lighten all that mixed media that's in the background, and also helps the place where the photo is just stand out perfectly. So I trimmed that down to size, and I'm just going to place that beneath the photo, and I think I trimmed it to about 9 by 6 tall, 9 wide. And I ended up deciding to just tear the edges of that because I didn't want it to be so perfect. Like, all the mixed media didn't look perfect, and so I didn't want the vellum to look perfect either. So I just lined up my ruler and then ripped along the edge just to give it a little bit of distress look to it. And I'm just going to stick that down and then stick the photo on top of it. I had a lot of extra vellum left over from that, and I thought it would be nice to do a couple layers. So I grabbed another piece that was the same size and just used the ruler again to rip it to the right size that I was looking for. And I'm going to layer that on top so that there's sort of like 2 layers of vellum underneath that photo. And I feel like that totally helps bring all the attention to where the photo is, because that part of the layout is softer and not as busy with a busy background. I do end up covering up a lot of the background that I designed, but that doesn't really bother me because, I mean, it's all part of the fun of scrapbooking, was making that layout. I placed a little bit of hot glue behind that, and then I distressed up the corners, and then I'm going to stick down my photo. Now I'm going to add some embellishing, and I knew that I wanted to keep the title and everything pretty simple. So the scrapbook kit this month came with this photograph acrylic title shape, and that's going to be my title. I'm going to just place it on the background. I decided I wanted a little bit of black stamping, so I'm going to use this Studio Calico roller date. It's not a date stamp, it's just a roller stamp, and I'm putting I love you all over the background, and it just adds a little extra something. I'm using black Memento Tuxedo ink for that. And then I will hot glue my title photograph to that background. And I'm using hot glue because it just will help everything stay exactly where it's supposed to go. And then I wanted the title to be, I love this photograph. Like, I love this. So I had these light blue letter stickers that came in the Project Life kit. And I'm going to use that for the I love this. And I'm just putting that at the very top of the page. It blends in a little bit, but that totally doesn't bother me at all. I don't think that the title needs to be super big and bold, because when you're looking at the layout, hopefully it draws you in and you'll want to look at it more. So I added the I love this. I felt like I wanted to add a tag, and that's where I would add my journaling. And I'm going to use this gray tag that I had in my card kit this month, as well as some pink ribbon that I received as a gift. And I just stuck that ribbon there and then trimmed the edges into fishtail edges and banner edges. And I do that by cutting down the middle and then cutting in towards it. And then my journaling can go on that tag. So then what I was doing was I wanted to just add something a little sparkly to the page. So I have this Jelly Roll Sakura pen. And it's like a clear, it's called Clear Star. It's like a light clear silver. And I decided to just outline the letters I love this, just to add a little sparkle up there. So hopefully the sparkle would catch your eyes. That way it says, I love this photograph. And when you look at the layout, it actually does, because it's very sparkly. You can't really see it on camera, but in person it really shows up. Then I'm going to add my journaling to this tag, and then journaling is just a Bible verse that really was speaking to me at that time in my life, and it's just from Psalms 36 verse 5, and it says, your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. Psalm 36 verse 5. So I used a black pen to just add that journaling, and then I'm going to stick that to the left of the photo and just sort of overlap the photo and the layout a little bit so that that verse really stands out. And then I wanted to keep the rest of the embellishments pretty simple, so I ended up grabbing some enamel dots that I got, these blue ones, and adding the enamel dots in 3 clusters around that tag. And then I felt like the layout was a little imbalanced, like the tag was heavier on the left hand side, so I needed something on the other side, on the right hand side, and so I decided to go to my stash of buttons, and I ended up using 5 teal, mint colored, blue-ish buttons, and I'm just going to stick them in a row along that side and hot glue those down, and they actually bring a lot of balance to that tag. And that's it, the page is done. I love the way that this page turned out. The background is so beautiful to me, and I'm just so thankful for how fun it was to make. So I hope you enjoyed this mixed media scrapbooking process video extravaganza, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!